Those suffering from the burnout, but Brad Wilson from bradsdeals.com, certainly not burnout. He's here to give me a pep talk, get my head back in the shopping game. Brad, let's talk about gift cards a little bit. They've become so popular, even more popular recently. What should people know about gift cards and some hidden charges in there?
You know, the worst thing about gift cards is actually the redemption rate. You know, they're very often not used, and that's really the biggest trick, if you will, with gift cards, and that's why we get pushed them a little bit, right? You know, the charges and the policies around them have actually gotten a little friendlier. I wouldn't call them friendly by any means, but by a combination of sort of you know, the retailers trying to be consumer friendly and also law, they've gotten a little friendlier, but there's still plenty of gotchas with, you know, the fees and the timeframes. But you know, the biggest is simply that they end up in our you know, desk drawer, and we never put them to use.
So, Brad, given this, what would you say is the perfect gift?
Boy, that's a profound question.
Isn't it?
You know, it's you know, it's so personal preference. I'm just sitting here thinking about sort of the utter variety of things that you know, we found good deals on today, and you know, there's really not one thing that, you know, the closest thing that really sort of encompasses you know, as many of us as possible is probably an iPhone right now. But you know, no big surprise there. But you know, whether it's, you know, the UGG boots that you like, or the North Face jacket that I like, or the, you know, the Dyson vacuum, or the Nike running shoes, you know, it's a little bit personal preference when you start to get into that kind of thing. I mean, I think a gift card, you know, gift card certainly makes a lot of sense as a gift. You know, the reality is that they're just not used. You know, they're used less than 90% of the time. So there's 15 or 20% of that money that goes into gift cards is essentially wasted. But you're right, it does let us, you know, make our own choice, at least.
Yeah, nothing says I love you so much then I didn't know what to buy you, so here's a gift card. But
That's right.
I digress. Yeah. But Brad, we were talking about some of the record-breaking numbers that we've seen this year. And of course, it might look different than it did before the start of the recession in 2008 with how folks are acquiring the stuff they're buying. But do you think we're finally back to a point now, when you look at the economy and look at some of these stats, consumer spending seems to be growing, that the consumer, he or herself, feels confident again, and that they're really back to where things used to be for the holiday shopping?
I think that's well said and a fair assessment. You know, that's certainly you know, the read that I have on it, just sort of getting to see consumers and, you know, what kind of price points and what kind of brands and what kind of stores they interact with on our site. You know, it's a very different world than 5 years ago. You know, the access to credit, I think, is a part of that. You know, we've seen a lot of, you know, over the course of 2014, we've seen a lot of really competitive, you know, sign-up bonuses from the credit card companies.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, I know. I seem to notice that a lot too this year. You know, some financing offers, same as cash for 24 months for certain things. But you know, again, one thing that has changed too, Brad, in many ways, is the security concerns with online shopping. There are some tips that folks can do to make sure that when they are shopping online, they can make sure they're being as safe as they can be. Just give us real quickly a couple tips before we part ways on advice you give to online shoppers about ways they can keep themselves safe.
Sure. Well, you know, it's important to remember at the highest level, there's been a lot more security breaches offline this year than online. So, you know, by far the biggest issues have been physically at the point of sale at a store. So from that standpoint, your orders of magnitude safer online. You know, the biggest thing you can do is really just to use a solid, reputable credit card. The credit card companies stand behind you very, very well from a security standpoint, far more than debit cards, far more than cash. You know, so if you're concerned, you know, I would just make sure you're paying for it the right way. You sort of buy yourself a lot of protection from that standpoint. You know, there's some other, you know, the next biggest tip is really just common sense. You know, if you're in a site that doesn't quite look right and isn't HTTPS secured, and you know, you might not recommend to a friend of yours, it's probably a good sign that you shouldn't check out.
Yeah.
You know,
we have some tips. We could put those back up on the screen real quick, Brad, before we part ways here. But you mentioned this. You want to make sure you use secure websites. You mentioned that HTTPS. Think security when you see that S there. Secure your online passwords. don't shop on public Wi-Fi networks. Also be, as you mentioned, Brad, be aware of unfamiliar websites. And if you do those things, you might actually be safer shopping online. Brad Wilson from Brad's Deals, thanks so much for being with us. And Brad, I'll try to get out there and shop a little bit more so I can get some of those good deals.
That sounds good. I wish you luck.
All right, thanks a lot. Happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We're coming right back here on America's Forum. Don't go anywhere.